Hi, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. For those of you who do not know me, I am Weiling Chai. I'm currently the HR Senior Program Manager, and I'm also one of the Global Co-Chair for our Asia Pacific Network. As you know, May is a month of celebration for our abilities, our Asia Pacific and our military networks with Global Accessibility Month, Military Appreciation Month, and Asia Pacific Islander Heritage Month. At Intuit, our ERGs, employee resource groups, play a very important role to create a safe, diverse, and inclusive workplace. On behalf of our abilities and our Asia Pacific networks, we're really excited to host this prosperity pop-up and hear from two of our amazing small business customers. Hopefully you'll be able to join the event live or catch the recaps on our social channels afterwards. Join me in welcoming our customers for today, Calvin Crosby, founder of Deaf Blind Potter, and Caleb Wang, one of the co-founders of XCJ. If you want to purchase their products, you will find in the Zoom chat, the website where they're actually giving us discounts. So cool, go for it. And then in a few minutes, I'm going to hand it over to Ashok, who will interview these amazing customers to help us learn from their journey, their businesses, and how they use our Intuit products to run their businesses. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. If you have questions, please put your questions in the Q&A tab in the Zoom. It's on the bottom right, and we will get to that at the end of our hour together. Please indicate C for questions for Caleb, K, questions for Calvin, or B for both. And our next Prosperity virtual pop-up will be held in June for Pride Month. Hope you can join us then. Again, thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to turn it over to Ashok for today's pop-up. Ashok, your floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Wei-Ling, and it is so great to be with all of you here today. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time because it's bringing together a few things that I love. Number one, small businesses. Number two, food. And number three, pottery. So I'm really excited to be able to get moving here. My name is Ashok Srivastava. I'm the Chief Data Officer here at Intuit, but really a lover of pottery and food. Those are two things that I really love to do. I'd love to hear from our business owners. And why don't we start with Caleb? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the work that you've been doing in your business?
Yeah, totally. Thanks for the invitation, and super happy to be here sharing our story. So my name is Caleb, one of the co-founders of XCJ. Background for XCJ, we got started in 2018. I'd grown up in Shanghai eating something called the Xinjiang Bao, which is a pan-fried soup dumpling. Never really saw it done well here, and decided that it really could be something, it could exist, and just selfishly wanted to eat more of it. So I started the restaurant with my wife and a couple friends, and it's been good so far.
That's fantastic. Can you give us an idea, Kelvin, about your business and the journey that brought you there?
Yeah. So basically, my journey started I was currently starting another business called Smart Guiding Inc. And the idea behind that was creating a robot that will allow blind and deafblind individuals to travel fully independently and safely. And so the idea of taking brain technologies and communicating with the robot, and then you can then guide anywhere you want to go. But when COVID hit, I lost all my funding. And was literally like, what am I going to do? And then in June of 2020, I lost all the clarity in my vision. And through that pain, I kind of went into this depression. And I had done pottery in college and done a little bit professionally earlier on in life. And then a friend of mine said, hey, can I help you by allowing you to come to my house and throw on the pottery wheel? And so I said, oh, sure. I'll let you have all my stuff if I can come over once a month and get on the pottery wheel. And we took a video of me getting back on the pottery wheel and starting to heal through my pain and losing all the clarity in my vision. We put it on TikTok for the first time. and I went to bed that night, and we hit over 10,000 followers with over 100,000 views in 10 hours. I literally went from having nothing to the point where people were hungry to understand how was a deaf-blind person overcoming his challenges. In 3 days, I hit 1.4 million views on my third video. And today I currently have over 250,000 followers. And people are hungry to learn how does the deaf-blind potter live beyond his challenges and how he can encourage others to live beyond theirs. As well, Smart Guider is back in action because with all the pottery that's sold, it goes directly back to manufacturing the lighted blind cane, which is our new product that I started building shortly after COVID hit. And now we're ready to go to market. So it's a beautiful story, but it's full of challenges.
Kelvin, I have to say that is such an inspiring and amazing story. I'm going to remember it for a long time, and I really thank you for being here, part of this pop-up today. Caleb, what do you love most about running your small business, and where do you sell your products?
Yeah, sure. So we went through a bit of a transition during COVID. Obviously, sales were down a bunch, and we didn't want to furlough employees and do some layoffs. So we started to ship our soup dumplings online. So we've done a lot of work to get the frozen logistics right, and so now we ship our soup dumplings nationwide. And that kind of leads into the thing that I like most, which is just hearing about customer reviews and just kind of introducing folks to the foods that we grew up eating.
Amazing. Thank you. Kelvin, now that you're a few years into this, what's the one thing that you wish you knew when you first started your business?
I think I wish I knew more about the legal process. That's been the biggest struggle, is understanding all the laws, the taxes, all the different parts that are involved in starting a business. And then after having to start a business literally 48 hours, I certainly didn't have a pottery business and then had to build it super, super fast. Thankfully, I had a web development background, so I could throw up an e-commerce store really fast. But the main thing for me was legally, how do I run a business without getting in trouble? So.
What an incredible story, because I know those are some of the most difficult things to deal with. So the fact that you dealt with them is amazing. Caleb, how has your business evolved and adapted in the past couple of years? Because it's just been such a wild ride for the last couple of years. And how has that helped you serve your customers better? How has that change helped you serve your customers?
Yeah, totally. So I think the biggest change is just the launch of our e-commerce business, which ultimately was a blessing in disguise. And now that's probably 95% of our business versus the restaurant. The biggest change, I think, is, in the restaurant space, you're literally serving people and you can see them eating the food. And so there's a very tight closed loop in terms of, hey, we made this good food, people liked it. Okay, that's great. But when you're shipping it online, you have a week, 2-week lag in terms of them giving feedback. So how are you able to look at data, and how are you able to leverage reviews and reaching out to folks to maintain really good experience? And so we look at things like shipment delays, even when things are out of our control. We automatically reship items if we think something's odd. So things like that, re-engineering our dumplings to be for an at-home experience instead of a restaurant experience. So a lot of different changes to make sure the at-home experience is just as good as the restaurant experience.
That's amazing, and I can imagine that you have to really think about all of those changes and get them done really fast in order to keep going. So it's an amazing, inspiring story. Kelvin, what about the future of your business excites you as you're looking forward, thinking about it? What are some things that really make you excited?
Yeah, I think what's so exciting right now is just the lives that are being saved. That I mean, I attempted suicide when I was 19, and I tried 12 times and was never successful. And being able to share that story and that pain and just allowing people to recover, you know, the people that have been able to recover through that pain and find the joy in life and really realize, okay, I can persevere through this challenge and build this character that has hope. And through the journey of this, I'm excited for what that message is going to turn out to be. The opportunities with Intuit, the opportunities with doing literally in-person presentations with the Pottery wheel, like going to different venues and throwing these massive pieces and telling my story, and people really walk out of the venue with their lives changed, realizing if I can do it, that's blind, you can do it too.
That's just incredible. I have to say that anyone who hears your story is going to be inspired, and we're really amazed to see how you're moving forward, and what is exciting you about the future is helping people. What an incredible story. Caleb, as you're thinking about your business, how are you thinking about growing and scaling it?
Yeah, good question. So I can share maybe the work that we've done to date, which is mostly to get our product nationwide with good reliability. And to be able to do that is really engineering a product that works at home, innovating on the frozen logistics network, and doing it in such a way that is cost effective for folks. So our kind of biggest competitor for food at home is a company called Goldbelly. And what they typically do is airship. And that's very expensive, and that's why the prices on the website is fairly expensive. We've done a little bit of work on the logistics side to be able to ground ship dumplings to folks, and that cuts about $30 out of the cost, and it makes it really accessible. So the North Star for us is, how do we get honestly represented products very accessibly to folks? And so, with that North Star, how do we, improve on the quality, improve on the reliability, and then also cut down on the cost over time? And that's really the pathway to scale. The other thing we can do is introduce new products. So right now we have soup dumplings, a couple of different flavors, and by the end of the year, we'll definitely launch 2 or 3 more products.
Wow, so it's a really customer-centric approach. I can see that from the way you're describing it, thinking about how to build out your business and make it scale. Kelvin, as you're thinking about your business going forward, what are some of the challenges that you think you're going to be facing, and how do you think about those?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the biggest challenges that facing is being able to really produce the amount of pieces that people want to buy, and really be able to scale to the level of the demand. And so, which is why I'm in the process, beginning stages of starting my own school, which will then turn into a manufacturing plant where I take people with intellectual disabilities and deaf blindness and some of the other disabilities that a lot of people don't realize because of their disabilities a strength, and so use it to the benefit of making pottery on a massive scale. So we would have somebody that can make soap bowls, or somebody with autism that is super detail oriented, making these fancy detailed bases, and be able to sell them at a mass production level, because they're so super focused. Or somebody that's deafblind that has no voice, has no sight, being able to provide them the opportunity to feel the clay and really allow that story to come through that piece. And so we can then scale it at a level of meeting the demand. And it's been interesting watching the demand go up in flows, but people are hungry for pieces that tell a story. And the thought is, well, why can't I just make a manufacturing plant that teaches people with intellectual disability to use the pottery wheel or use hand building pottery and really make these beautiful pieces that tell a story.
That's amazing. Some of my closest friends are potters, and they said something very similar to you, that engagement with the clay on the potting wheel is very grounding and something that they can really relate to. I've tried it myself, but I have to say it's pretty tough for me, but I'm going to try it again, listening to you and thinking about you doing it. What an amazing story. So it's Caleb, are you celebrating Asian Heritage Month, and what's that like?
Yeah, for sure. I think for us, Asian Heritage Month is all about celebrating the community. So we're thoughtful in terms of what we can do over the course of May to do it. So the first thing we did is one of our favorite actors, Simu Liu, is launching a book. So we did a collab with him, giving out books for folks that ordered. We are also doing a fireside chat with Chef Jong Kung. He's pretty big proponent on third culture as a kind of a movement, and that's kind of our North Star as well. So we'll be doing a fireside chat this weekend. And then to wrap it up, we have a new product launch at the end of the month. And we've also partnered with a couple Asian charities to do some fundraising this month as well. So a pretty jam-packed month for us.
Fantastic. And Kelvin, how about the Global Accessibility Awareness Month? Are you celebrating, and how are you doing that?
So basically, kind of the whole story and kind of showing how I live beyond my challenges and making different videos that show what that looks like. I just posted a video yesterday, just trying to find other artists that have disabilities and hashtag that person and really celebrate the idea. Like, we live with challenges, but we don't have to allow the challenges to stop us from overcoming that label that we have. And essentially the same model of living beyond a label. And the idea is that the label that we have, right, we don't have to be defined by that. And so our big month is June, because that's Deafblind Awareness Month for us. And so we are doing a lot of awareness of that, what all the different issues of deaf blindness and the issues that you deal with. So we've been really prepping for next month. But this month we've been really just focusing on, all right, what things can I get and how do I overcome them? So.
That's a great message for all of us. I mean, we all have challenges to varying degrees, but I love what you said, that we don't need to be labeled by them, that we can actually overcome them. It's a great story. I'm curious, which Intuit products do you use? Caleb, we can start with you. Which Intuit products do you use?
Yeah, sure. So I think in the mix between personal and business, I almost use the entire suite. So for our business, we use QuickBooks, obviously for the accounting backend, and then MailChimp, as well as Klaviyo for sending out emails, depending on the use case. And then personally, I think I've been a Mint user at least since college, and TurboTax user, even though I don't love using it every year, somehow keep on coming back to it.
And Calvin?
Yeah, so we use MailChimp for my other company, Smart Gallery, and the other product, we use QuickBooks for Deafblind product. We currently migrate the Shopify store into QuickBooks, and then that's kind of essentially how we work it.
Well, it's great to hear. Thank you both for being our customers and for participating in this pop-up. I'd love to ask you some rapid fire questions. Are you two up for it?
Sounds good.
Sure.
All right, so let's get at it. Kelvin, tell me, what is your favorite piece to make of pottery? And if you can show us, that'd be great.
We're looking at it. I love making vases. There's a sense of challenge within making a vase. And there's so many curves and nuances that are involved in throwing a vase. So even though these don't really sell a lot, but they're my favorite pieces to make.
All right, well, I can tell you sold one today to me, so just hang on there. Caleb, what new items do you have in the pipeline?
Yeah, good question. So actually next week, we're going to be launching a Chinese skewer. So in Chinese, it's called Sao Cao. We'll have lamb, beef, and pork for our beta launch. And then we're also launching an ice cream product in a month and a half as well.
Sounds awesome. I can't wait. Calvin, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice I ever received was, I got a choice. I can either mourn in my pain and sorrow, or I can rejoice in my pain. And I have found that when I rejoice in my pain, it helps me overcome every barrier that comes before.
That's pretty profound. Thank you for sharing that. Caleb, do you have a daily routine as a business owner? Like, what does your day look like?
Yeah, it's pretty frenetic and variable, but try to not frame it from a daily routine perspective, but maybe a weekly routine perspective. So Mondays are all just kind of catch up on every single function, make sure it's running properly. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are deep dives into functions, and then try to reserve Thursdays and Fridays for deep work and fewer meetings and like larger projects.
Sounds good. And Kelvin, what three things do you think have contributed to your success?
I'll be honest, I think finding joy in my challenges, and then really my blindness, and then being able to embrace my blindness, and then the other thing is my support. So like my wife, my family, being supportive and helping me achieve my dreams.
Finding joy in challenges. That is, again, a great way to live. Caleb, I think I know the answer to this, but I'd love to hear it from you. What inspires your products?
Yeah, so I think it's really, we want to bring honest representation to Chinese food. And I think companies like Panda Express have really done a really good job in the 80s and 90s of, defining what's Chinese American. And I think the next wave, there's an increasing demand in authenticity. And for us, our bar is really, what's something that we see in China that Americans have not yet been exposed to. And as we think about the bar, it's really, would our parents be proud to share it with their friends? And if they're sharing with their friends as gifts, then we're like, okay, we've crossed the bar. So we do a lot of testing, sending it back and forth to our families to make sure we're doing it justice.
That's an awesome and high bar.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a high bar.
I'm sure you're meeting it, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. So, Kelvin, tell us something that you can't live without.
Oh man, I think one of the things that I can't live without is, I said this in a video, talking with my best friend, my wife Abigail. She has been my strength to be able to get through some of the hardest times that I have to face, and it's going to be tough. Like we got some more journeys ahead of us, and I know we're going to be strong to get through that. So.
Awesome. So great to hear. So the last one, Caleb, you can probably hear the drum roll in the background, right? If someone gave you $100 and said, treat yourself, what would you do with it?
Yeah, Calvin, after hearing your story, definitely would go to your website and buy a mug or a vase, whatever qualifies for under 100. I think I was on your website earlier. The vase is like 110, so I'll settle for the mug. Awesome.
So I really want to thank you both for spending time with us. It was completely inspirational to me. I have to say, I loved hearing the stories. I'm going to watch the videos, and I'm certainly going to be buying products from both of you. I'd like to turn it over to Wei Ling to take us into the next part of the Q&A.
Thank you, Ashok. For the last few minutes, we are open for questions. Make sure you post your questions in the Q&A. I already saw a handful coming in, really excited. And let me know if it's for Caleb, for Calvin, or for both of them. So before we go to the question from the panel, I have a quick questions for both of you. As you know, May is a Mental Health Awareness Month. How do you manage everything on your business, the challenges, while still taking care of your own well-being? Maybe start with you, Caleb.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I think it's really about balance. Kind of you're always going to have problems or challenges in the business, and not to make it, override anything. And for me in particular, it's a little bit even more challenging because my wife is a business partner, and so that kind of naturally spills over. So we just make sure that we have dedicated time for ourselves, not talking about the business, and just having good balance and other interests outside of the business, and that's been helpful.
Thank you, especially the wife being your co-partner.
Exactly. Yep.
Calvin, what about you? How do you manage balancing everything and your own well-being?
Yeah. So every Sunday I take Sunday off. I do work 6 days a week. But and then we're looking at it. It's really taking time to be on the pottery wheel, because one of the things that I love about the pottery wheel is that I can take what's in my mind and visually feel what it looks like, and just the process of making a piece and going through that process is like super healing, and it's extremely powerful if you're realizing, I can relax. I don't have to worry about what's outside of these four walls. I can just be right here, right now, be in the moment, turn on some music, or just be in silence. And I mean, and then every morning I have at least a 30-minute quiet time, and just sit there and just be silent and embrace that I get to live today. And then I do grieve every day for 30 seconds. And that's literally when I roll out of bed, I go to the restroom and I stop and I take 30 seconds, and I just, sometimes I'll cry, sometimes I mourn, sometimes, and I said, all right, it's okay. We're gonna keep going forward though. And I keep going on with my day.
Calvin, that is amazing. I love the quiet time and the time you spend on your pottery wheel. So now I'm going to go to questions. So Caleb, this is actually for you. There's several people asking this. Will you be offering a vegetarian options in your xiaolongbao and all your other products?
Yes. Good question. We are, and let me share some inside baseball on why it's taking so long to get it right. So the soup that is in the soup dumpling is based on gelatin, and so that's obviously an animal product. And there are replacements to that, like agar-agar and NH-pectin, things like that. However, it does not, without R&D, replicate the qualities of the gelatin. So, for example, you certainly don't want 5 minutes after you steam the dumpling to have the soup get gelatinized. So we're doing a lot of work to make a vegetarian replacement to that. We think we are close, probably like 7th inning. And so hopefully by the end of this year, we'll launch it. Some of the other products are easier. So like we're launching a dandan noodle at the end of the year. We're working with Impossible. So that will be vegan, vegetarian from the get-go. And so it is a big focus to make products that are accessible to everyone.
Great. Actually, there's a follow-up question. Nathan was saying he had a lot of xiaolongbao often when he visits Shanghai with his Chinese wife, but he's wondering if you could cater to, again, it's the vegetarian crowd with a possibly egg and leek style dumpling.
Totally. Yep. Totally. That is, so once we figure out the gelatin component, we have a laundry list of potential flavors that we're working on. And I think it's kind of interesting because in China, historically speaking, there hasn't been that many vegetarians. And so like vegetarian recipes for soup dumpling have not existed. So our approach is like, if that would have been a popular thing in China, how would that have manifested itself? And so we are thinking about using traditional recipes like egg and tomato or egg and leek and things like that. So that's our approach.
That's awesome. Calvin, we're going to switch over to you. Could you talk a little bit on how Intuit's ERA program has helped you?
Oh yes, that's an important program. I mean, that's how you guys even discovered who I was. So today I'm using my assistant, my brother. She's on my hearing aids, and but you can go on my TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or Facebook, anywhere you find your social media, and you can kind of see. So if you don't know who Ira is a virtual interpreter for people who are blind, and Intuit has been a huge blessing because literally when I was blowing up, I literally needed somebody with eyes to help me run my business. And because the Intuit has a small business program that they sponsor to help blind individuals be able to use their computer, take videos, to help make sure your picture's straight, you're in the shot, or you're building the right website that has the right visual layout, like helping me find certain products that I need to make sure I have, helping me doing inventory checks, making like there's so many small little business tasks that you need to get accomplished as an individual. And because of the Intuit promo, I'm able to call Ira and say, hey, I'll hold my phone or put it on a tripod and let's work through this challenge. And let's work through, we're going to make a video today, or we're going to edit a video, we're going to caption a video. And I get 30 minutes and I get to, if I don't finish it, I call back and do it again. And it's been, I am so thankful that Intuit was willing to step up and fund this, because we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for the IRA Intuit program. Because I wouldn't have been able to be as successful as I am today unless it was for that. Because it got me through some really tough, difficult times as a business owner. I mean, when you run a small business, there's a lot of things involved. Like you got to make sure your inventory is going. You got to get your shipping labels out. You got to get the products out. You got to get to the mailing office. There's so many little details, and the IRA Intuit promo was there to help me do that. And it's just powerful. It's powerful to know that I'm ever forever thankful to Intuit for being able to pay for that service, so that way I can continue to live beyond my challenges.
Calvin, really glad that Ira can help and Intuit can help, but that's an amazing story. I mean, like you said, even a normal small business owner, and I'm sure Caleb is nodding here, has the normal challenges. So really appreciate that. We're going to switch over to you, Caleb. For people like myself, what's the difference between a soup dumpling and a regular dumpling?
Yeah, sure. So soup dumplings have a little bit of soup kind of in the dumpling. So when you steam it up, the gelatin turns into soup, and so you can bite into the dumpling, drink the soup first, and then eat it. So it's a pretty nice innovation.
Cool, thank you. Another question for you, Caleb. Can you actually oversteam your dumplings, or is it foolproof? So I don't cook, so this is definitely a question for me.
Good question. So actually, it's not impossible to oversteam. And so in the restaurant format, obviously you're a chef and you've done it a lot, right? So the timing. And one of the biggest things that we work through is like what happens when you give it to customers who have different varying ovens, different, like it could be high, it could be low, and how do you prevent the oversteaming? So one thing we obviously do is education, but also can we actually change the product to increase the level of gluten in the skin, so like the skin doesn't break. So we've done a lot of stuff to basically extend the amount of time you can steam the dumplings, plus or minus a couple minutes, and still come out with a good product. But even with that, you can definitely oversteam it. So we recommend 10 to 11 minutes. If you go up to 13, 14, it's still okay. It's just going to impact the amount of soup in the dumpling.
Okay. Next question is actually for both of you. Do you have, I know Caleb, you mentioned that you have a new product line. Can you show us what the new product line is? And Calvin, the same question for you. I know you love making vase. Is there one that you just made recently that we are all going to love? So Caleb first.
Yeah, good question. I unfortunately do not have it with me. However, I can show, this is like a limited edition flavor. Actually, the screen is kind of weird. But why don't I do this? I can send our landing page that we're working on, and let me go find the link and then send it in the group chat.
Cool, thank you. Calvin, I see you picked up a couple of pieces.
Yeah, so here's the Deafblind Potter mug. This is the first mug, type of style mug that I made. I mean, I made 50 of these right after I went viral and sold out in 5 days. I was like, well, and they're all buying them at $50, $55 a pop. I'm like, well, at least I priced it right. And then there's something special about these mugs, or these are the tumblers that I have. And this is called the Scenic tumbler. And we're still testing, doing a little bit more testing. We'll probably stop the testing and actually go full blown in the next couple months. But if you if you're on the website at deafblindfather.com, you're going to see a link called Scenic, or support the Scenic. 100% of the revenue from these type of products that are red, black, and white go to making the lighted blind cane. And I realized I don't have a lighted blind cane in my reach. And what the lighted blind cane is, if you didn't know, it's estimated that 253 million blind people in the world, and 87 million of them are estimated to be hit by a car. And I've been hit by a car 3 times. And because of that, I solved this problem by creating a cane that fully lights up like a lightsaber. And so the best way to see that right now is if you're on the website, at the very bottom is learn more about the lighted blind cane or the Scenic cane. It's at the very bottom of the website. It'll take you to the smartguidinc.com website that will show you what the lighted blind cane looks like and what it's all about, and how we're already seeing great success, what the lighted blind cane can do for a blind person. And this is the first product ever on the market where the blind person is not having to do the work to protect themselves. The people around them are doing the work to give safety to the blind. But a normal blind cane doesn't reflect well enough, and also it doesn't really give you a good visual cue from a distance. With this cane, we've already seen in results in our testing that you can see it from literally 100 yards away and start reacting as a car and be able to say, oh, there's something flashing at me. You get closer, you're realizing, no, that's a blind cane. And then you start doing something to react to that person's behavior. And so this cane currently, we're ready to go to market, and we're currently doing a fundraising round for $500,000 for angel investors to invest in the business. And I already have my manufacturing plant. I already have it ready to go to market. Now we just need to raise the money to actually start producing new things. So
Thank you, Calvin. That's an amazing thing. And we're definitely going to support. Is the link to the donations, the fundraiser in your website? At which point we'll go see that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, deafblindfather.com. Everything's right there for you.
Okay, great. Caleb, sounds like your dumplings are making crazy things. So questions about what's the best steamer for the dumplings, if there's one?
Yeah, so we recommend a bamboo steamer. It's kind of the traditional way and the easiest way, at least for us to do it, and we sell it on our website. But certainly you can use kind of any steamer. We also have people just use like a pot, like with a plate on it, and you can steam it that way. Vegetable steamer works, Instant Pot works as well. So a lot of different ways.
Thank you. Actually, you just answered the second question, which is if I didn't have a steamer, what do I do?
Okay, cool.
So that's awesome. I have, before I go to my question, is there any other questions out there? Please post it to the Q&A right now. If not, I'm going to ask Caleb the question. How do I want the Simu Lu's new book, and how do I get into your fireside chat?
Oh, yeah, sure. So if you place an order and you put in the code Simu Dreamers, we will ship a book to you as well. So I can put the code in the chat. And then fireside chat, I think we'll announce it on our Instagram in terms of the link, and Chef John Kung will as well. So just follow, and we'll keep you updated.
Thank you, because I'm sure I'm not the only one asking for this question. So there's a lot of other questions going. Caleb, do you also collaborate with other independent food makers for your products and your collection?
So one of the interesting things we found is so we're obviously dumpling specialists and specifically soup dumpling specialists, but there's so many other great restaurants across the nation that have this one really good dish. And it's really hard to make it accessible nationwide because of the frozen logistics and all that stuff. So one of our big initiatives is finding restaurants across the country where they have a special dish. Can we help and collaborate to make it CPG-ified and nationwide? And so, then we can really share just really good dishes across the world. So that's one of the things we're working on.
That's awesome. Are there any other questions? If not, we're going to close out this session shortly. Questions going once, going twice, or even any, oh, we do have a question for Calvin. Were there any other modes or products in competition with Pottery in the business, or was this just a kind of your no-brainer launch with your Pottery?
You're talking about, sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, we're talking about competition for you in the Pottery space. Is there any other products in the Pottery space that is competition for your business? Or is this something that you're kind of the leading edge of it?
So what's interesting is my Pottery is not really anything special in general. I do, so what I am doing that different than pretty much any potter that I do know. I do only know one other potter, and he doesn't do this anymore. But doing in-personal live presentations while throwing on the potter wheel and telling stories or whatever. So like right now, I'm on this specific type of story where I talk about suicide as a 19-year-old, and then I talk through the pain of having to heal through that process. And then in the middle of the presentation, you see the piece collapse. And then you see, I don't say nothing, and it's dead silent for a minute. And it's painful for people to just sit there and be in silent, because that's when I realized I lost everything. And then I rebuild the piece back up. And then you just see it become this beautiful piece. And you see it where I'm at today. And so it's something that most probably do not like rebuilding their ruined pieces. They just normally just chuck it to the corner and put another piece of clay on. But anytime a piece collapses, that's another pain point that we can find joy in. And so that's what I'm doing now, and really encouraging people it's okay to collapse. It's okay. But we can remold. We're still breathing. We're still alive. Clay is wet, and we're all kind of a form of clay of some point. But we can reshape. We can remold. We can readjust and rebuild. We gotta keep putting one foot forward, though. So that's what's really separating me right now, compared to most potters. And most potters can't talk and do pottery at the same time. It is a challenge, but I feel like I have become an expert in that field. So,
Calvin, there's a lot of love in our chat for you, and what you just said, allowing it to collapse and rebuilding is an amazing thing. Thank you. That's another question for you, Calvin. I think he said that you started with a robotic product before the pandemic. Will you go back to that now? Or
yeah,
did you learn something from that project?
Yeah, so I will go back to it. It's estimated it's going to cost me about $10 million to finish it out, to get it done. There are already investors in the pipeline that are interested. Once we're ready, the biggest issue right now is connectivity. And so as 5G continues to roll out and being able to do what we need, there's this new indoor navigation technology that just came out about a year ago. And so we're keeping a close eye on all this technology. The whole thought is, it's not for us to reinvent the technology. It's actually just to provide the robot that talks to all the technology into one system. And so like, let's just say Good Maps does all the indoor navigation and outdoor navigation and they do their part. And then we have the autonomous vehicle people that are doing pedestrian navigation with autonomous vehicle. We'll put that into the game, into the structure, and then the brain technology, that part's already been developed. Actually, a lot easier than you think to do is by giving commands from your brain to a game. It's actually a lot easier than we think. And then doing obstacle avoidance. But there's a lot of already existing technology to do that, and so we'll be able to just take that technology, drop it in, and make the marriage happen. So the cost is getting it all to marry together. Intuit very well knows how to marry things together. Like now we got MailChimp, we got QuickBooks, we got Mint, and like how do you marry all these things being one big thing? And so trying to get everything to marry together, that's where the cost is going to be. So.
Thank you, Kelvin.
Yeah,
That's apologize. Go for it.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. I probably won't be really working on my fundraising for that product until 2024, because that's when they're saying that 5G will pretty much be in all of the major rural areas.
That is super amazing. Thank you, Kelvin. We don't have any more questions here. So a huge thank you to both Kelvin, yourself, Caleb, and Ashok, and everyone else who's joining us virtually live right now. If you want to order any of their products and help support these businesses, their links are posted in the chat. And they can also be found in our Prosperity Marketplace. Again, reminder, we'll be holding these Prosperity Pops Up every month. On a regular basis. The next one is actually June Pride Month. We'd love to also get feedback from you, each one of you. So there will be a short survey that will pop up in your Zoom before you sign off. Your feedback is very important to us. And again, thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you, Ashok, and all of you for joining us to support our small business. Have a great day and have a great weekend.